Customers, I got some more Robux.
However, he couldn't harshly reprimand his subordinates either, because he himself wasn't any better. Transformation. Bloody and brutal fighting related to strength, skill, and bravery. They simply repeated the memorized steps from their training, preparing fire towards the enemy according to training to achieve victory. Alongside the assistance of the witches, they haven't lost a single battle. One soldier even thought that it would be great if he got in. Pay attention to the enemy situation. Just as Roland was lost in thought, the warning from the scout brought him back. The soldiers were expressed and started loading ammunition seriously. The compartments became bustling with activity. They had practiced this step too many times. They silently awaited the arrival of the attack signal flash. The fleet, now visible in the distance, was getting closer and closer to their onward position. However, Prince Roland had still not given any orders. Sylvie and Leanne grew increasingly anxious, fearing that they might not have time for the messengers to relay their commands. It was almost too late to stop the fleet from passing through the fort in the Crimson Water River. Roland instructed the two
guys.
to listen, and suddenly, a deafening roar reverberated across the river.
Please?
Erupted, accompanied by the continuous rumbling of thunderous explosions. The river, hardly daring to believe what she was seeing. There were no knights or mercenaries engaged in close combat, yet the deck of the first sailing ship seemed to explode. With splinters and body parts scattered in all directions, and the crew on the ship were instantly killed or injured, with blood mist rising and staining the deck. She can only see a black sphere being shot out from the bunkers, which she thought was useless, swaying for a moment before crashing down with a thunderous impact, knocking two knights who had just climbed from the cabin to the deck. Sylvie finally understood what the prince meant by "they won't make it through." However, how did his subordinates manage to achieve this? Compared to Leanne, who was observing from a distance, Sylvie had a more vivid view of the scene.
Okay.
It was the first time she had witnessed such a sight. No sharp blades or spears were needed. With just round, rolling spears, people were torn apart. As her vision was too close, she even felt that the blood and entrails of those killed were splashing onto her own body. Several others were struck by the iron spears, either severing limbs or shattering their skulls. The ship's cabin was now filled with glowing fluids and a mix of red and white. Suddenly, the witch felt a surge of nausea and started puking. Prince Roland noticed her discomfort and handed her a handkerchief, advising her not to use her abilities to watch any further. Sylvie took the handkerchief and wiped her mouth. This was probably the incredible invention. At the time, no one paid much attention or thought much of it. After all, it was hard to imagine such an astonishing weapon without witnessing it. She turned her gaze back to the battlefield and saw the Tipsy fleet beginning to approach the banks. However, they were unaware that Prince Roland had set up fortifications in more than just one location. But the soldiers inside the bunker did not give them a chance. The soldiers just aimed their weapons at the targets and easily pulled the trigger. The enemy couldn't hold on for long before those who had disembarked from the ships almost waiting to depart scrambled in all directions. The prince to follow Axe, as he doesn't want anyone escaping. With a nod, Sylvie agreed to accompany Axe. She suddenly understood why Prince Roland dared to openly protect the witches in this corner of the continent. With such formidable power at his disposal, explaining that they had sworn allegiance to Timothy and could not betray their oath. Roland shrugged indifferently and ordered his guards to take them away and hand them over to Axe. Roland turned around and told Axe that he had no restrictions on the methods or means to obtain sufficient intelligence. He made it clear that he would show no mercy towards those who had captured and harmed innocent civilians and dared to invade the Western Territory. Roland's tone grew cold. Once you're done questioning them, treat them as deceased. After a few days, Roland returned to the border town. He employed the same method to deal with Garcia in Greenwater Port. These forces consisted of criminals, rats, and mostly refugees gathered from various places. The intelligence of the enemy knights revealed that Timothy deceived these people, initially using verbal promises to resources. The fallen knights are Vincent the border town. Meanwhile, he could observe Roland's response and the effectiveness of his tactics. Roland couldn't help but feel a burning hatred and frustration. Timothy was using wave after wave of cannon fodder. Even if Roland managed to emerge victorious without a scratch, it would still be a Pyrrhic victory. Compared to repelling Timothy's invasion, his primary concern was putting an end to this meaningless war. Otherwise, how long would it take for the population to flourish again once Great Castle was unified?
Let's play.
Humans was approaching, and soon the entire western border would be covered in heavy land travel. Timothy undoubtedly intended to act before the winter snow arrived. Roland closed his eyes, pondered for a moment, and continued, expressing his desire to stall this war. Sending envoys or diplomatic communications would be ineffective. Roland was determined to prevent Timothy from seizing the population. He planned to evacuate the people before Timothy could reach them. Additionally, he aimed to instill fear in Timothy. Despite the risk of exposing their tactics, however, Roland had decided to attack It was time to reveal his true power, step by step, and take Timothy's place on the political stage of Great Castle. He wanted the kingdom's people to take notice of his presence. It had nothing to do with vanity, but rather
Man, my game just keeps lagging, bro.
It was said that after plundering several cities, they sailed north along the coastline, and nobody knew where they had gone. Margaret inquired about the hot air balloon, so Roland led them to the backyard and taught them how to operate it, demonstrating its safety. Once inflated, the balloon remained unaffected by rain, impacts, fire, or even the pecking of birds. Margaret quickly grabbed the key pump and asked how many gas canisters were needed. Margaret thought that chemical technology would be quite expensive. Roland cleared his throat and employed tactics, offering the first inflation of the balloon for free and even complimentary camouflage outfit. After the caravan departed, Roland let out a long sigh of relief. The treasure by Hannah and Lucia were of great significance. Roland instructed Lucia to break down the ores into various raw materials, and then blend them with pure iron in different mass ratios. Iron carbon alloy, with higher carbon content resulting in pig iron and no carbon resulting in pure iron. He was aware that carbon content within a specific range could be classified. Furthermore,
Bro, this is basically
properties of the
so
metal.
good. Kind of.
Therefore, the first
I
thing
need
to be
2000 to
determined
upgrade
was the
my
extent of this range.
boosting thing.
After a few encouraging words to the
Damn.
Suddenly, he felt a soft hand resting on his forehead. Lucia was nowhere in sight, but Anna stood before him. Roland was startled, and Anna warned him, saying, "Your Highness, be careful not to catch a cold." Anna looked into Roland's eyes and knew that he had something to tell her. Roland hesitated from being forcefully conscripted by blood at the peaks or the desired outcome. Softly in his lumbering up. These creatures possessed astonishing lightning from his hand. After contemplating for a while and finding no answers, Tilly decided to set aside all of those things and took out Sylvie's letter. She intended to know the results of investigating the ward of the border town. However, the first sentence of the letter left her stunned, even more so than when she had seen the word demons. Lady Tilly, I have found no traces of disguise or magical influence on Roland Wimbledon. Apart from the Witch Union, there are no other factions of witches hidden in the town. So, I believe he might be your true brother. Tilly was left speechless, shocked by the revelation in Sylvie's letter. A real brother. How could that be possible? Tilly held the letter in her hand, but her mind couldn't focus. Thoughts swirled in her head like an airwave. Among the 5 children of Roland III, the eldest 3 newborn children needed to be played together. By the time Roland was born, the youngest, Garcia, was already 6 years old, and they didn't include him in their group. Logically, Tilly should have formed another circle with Roland, but it wasn't the case in reality. Roland longed to be accepted by his 2 older brothers, striving to fit into their circle, but often ended up being the one who was getting bullied. This twisted and volatile treatment caused Roland's character to become distorted and easily angered. Of course, he didn't dare to direct his anger towards the 3 elder siblings, so started bullying Tilly. She couldn't believe it. How could someone like him stand with the witches, sheltering them and even dare to oppose the church? Tilly was perplexed and conflicted. It seemed contradictory to her that someone with Roland's history of bullying and twisted character could now align himself with the very beings he had once despised. The fact that he was willing to go against the church, an institution that held immense power and influence, further intensified her confusion and disbelief. Tilly didn't know what to say for a moment.
Subscribe right now or you won't
Tilly
die.
mentioned that the letter stated that Roland hadn't been controlled or replaced by the witches.
Maybe I should listen
When
to
she mentioned the
I'm not gonna
incident
say
with
it.
the butt grab. After contemplating for a moment, she remarked that even though they hadn't seen him for just a year, he seemed like a completely different person. Tilly asked Ashes
to
to
get around
elaborate further.
50.
Ashes
Around
thought for a moment and said, Roland wore clothing like nobles do. His attire is very clean. Overall, Roland now gave a favorable impression. Tilly smiled, surprised that Ashes would speak well of him. She let out a sigh of relief, realizing that her brother had indeed undergone significant changes. But what had prompted his transformation? Perhaps the true reason could only be discovered by meeting him in person. Regaining her focus, Tilly shifted her attention.
Hot takes. Ads are trash.
Back to the letter.
Hot takes.
As Tilly continued reading, another piece of information caught her attention. It described a weapon capable of launching iron balls and crossbow bolts from iron tubes, with immense power. Although Maisie and Ashley had mentioned such a weapon before, this was the first time Tilly had encountered such a detailed description. Ashley suggested that Tilly ask Roland to send it back to his weapon. However, Tilly shook her head, explaining that allies should not be approached with suspicion. Such a test would only undermine the trust they had painstakingly built. And it would be better to discuss it in person. As her eyes reached the end of the letter, Tilly couldn't help but freeze. Roland had actually invented a type of and had gifted it to every adult. Wait a minute. Tilly suddenly remembered. Tilly felt alive with her memories of him, but on the other hand, upon returning to the border town, as soon as they entered, Kyle mentioned that he had come up with a feasible plan for large-scale production of sulfuric acid. However, it required a significant amount of lead and steel crafters, and he hoped to seek the assistance of the witness. Roland asked Kyle to provide him with a detailed plan. Sit down and taught him another task. Kyle shook his head repeatedly, stating that he didn't have time recently as large-scale acid production was a challenging endeavor that required his full attention. Roland manufacture more soap. Kyle immediately recalled the saponification reaction mentioned in elementary chemistry, which involves hydroxide and fats or oils to produce alcohol and salt. It was indeed an unusual feeling to hear standard chemical terms from an alchemist's mouth. Roland nodded in agreement, and Kyle still seemed a bit puzzled. It didn't seem important to him, but the prince emphasized that it was crucial. While soap production itself might not be important, the byproduct of the production process was something Roland urgently needed. Kyle immediately realized it was alcohol, and Roland confirmed that he needed alcohol, or glycerin to be exact, as it was a highly important ingredient. Kyle shrugged and said he would assign it to his apprentices, but he would demonstrate the process in front of a few chosen by him. Meanwhile, Roland shared some news with him, mentioning that a sailboat had arrived at the dock with 50 people on board, and one of them claimed to be an alchemist from Crimson Water City. Before Roland could finish his sentence, Kyle stood up excitedly. It was solid, and he had truly brought his apprentices to join Kyle. And he will surely fit for the job. Lightning at least bring a weapon. Maisie pointed at her beak, indicating that her beak was her weapon. Lightning sighed. After all, it was just a one-day trip, and they shouldn't encounter any major dangers. They were preparing to explore the westernmost part of the enchanted forest. Lightning had a little secret that she hadn't told anyone. She no longer dared to explore the forest alone. This was a great shame for an adventurer. However, she couldn't just gradually approach it, observe it, and understand it. realized that fear wasn't as dreadful as it seemed. This exploration would be Lightning's attempt.
This is so
With
overpowered.
Maisie accompanying her, she felt a bit more confident. They had chosen a safe route, following the crimson
We
water
actually
river
might be able to make it
westward
down
without
50.
venturing deep into the forest. With this approach, it was
And it's
unlikely
like
humans. Lightning picked up a piece of the black stone and examined it closely, realizing that there were countless such stones scattered all around. She collected a few pieces, intending to show them to His Highness upon their return. Lightning called for Maisie, instructing her not to move, and then put on her wind goggles. In an instant, she accelerated to her maximum speed. After flying for about half an hour, she could faintly see the landscape beyond the mountains. She came to a stop. At the edge of her vision, a layer of reddish-brown mist hung over the peaks of the mountain. Roland sat at his desk, wondering how the launch of Murdoch and the Imperial Palace had capital city. Windows. When he turned around, he saw Lightning clinging to the window, looking panicked, while Maisie perched on top of Lightning's head, pecking at the glass. As Nightingale opened the window, the little girl flew into Roland's arms. He gently stroked Lightning's head and comforted her, asking what had happened. Black stones, cool. A huge snowy mountain, cool. Maisie landed on the desk and flapped her wings, delivering the report. With a serious expression, Lightning spoke up, saying she had seen a demon. Roland's
Okay, we're
face
doing
was
good.
solemn, and he told her not to panic.
Okay, guys,
urging
we're
her to
doing
take her
good. We
time
might
and
actually
calm
do
down. After a while,
50
Lightning
and
raised
get
her
that.
head from Prince Roland's the forest, but instead, she discovered a massive mountain covered by a layer of reddish-brown dense fog. The fog was so thick that it resembled undissolved fresh blood, spreading westward without apparent boundaries. The scene was just like the one depicted in Soraya's drawing. After Roland relayed Lightning's findings to everyone, Scroll suggested further investigation of the area covered by the red fog. They needed to ascertain whether it would cross the mountain range and reach the continent along the coastline. Wendy nodded in agreement. They had to be prepared. As the two oldest witches in the Union, Scroll and Wendy were the backbone in the hearts of many witches. Although Roland also leaned towards the proposed course of action. The key now was how to implement it. Anna suggested
This
using
taking
hot air balloons for
forever.
reconnaissance. They
Upgrade
could
that.
camouflage themselves in the sky, using the clouds as cover, and fly over from the sea.
I'm gonna go get some
Lightning
water.
suggested bringing Sylvia
Guys just can watch
saying he
if
would
you
go as
lose
well.
or win.
As
So,
soon as
wait a
Scroll,
second.
Wendy, Scroll, and Nightingale all simultaneously objected, stating that they couldn't let Roland take such risks. Roland, with a serious tone, responded that it wasn't a reckless act. He believed that the demons did not possess the ability to cross the vast sea and high mountains, otherwise, they would have already spread throughout the four kingdoms. They were gathered in the far west, and perhaps they weren't as terrifying as they seemed. There was another reason he didn't mention, one that made him more experienced than anyone in assessing the development of an alien civilization. If he could witness the demons and their cities with his own eyes, it would greatly help in formulating future development directions and counter-strategies. The witches still hesitated. Roland smiled and said that staying in the hot air balloon would definitely be safe. If there was any danger, he wouldn't have let the witches go in the first place. Seeing that their persuasion was ineffective, Nightingale was the first to change.
John Cena!
Roland could go, but he had to take Nightingale with him.
Alright, I'm back.
That the expedition members would be himself, Anna, Wendy, Soraya, Sylvie, Nightingale, Lightning, and Maisie. Besides the necessary food, everyone had to carry a everyone must practice be a metallic ore. It had a hard and lightweight metallic luster, and it was exposed on the surface. Could it be coal? Roland asked Anna to release flames, and under the scorching black fire, the stone quickly turned bright red and translucent. Roland immediately realized that it was high-quality anthracite coal. Even in the age of electricity, coal could be used to produce coal gas, hydrogen gas, and asphalt, as well as for power generation.
Well,
It could be considered an
this
excellent
is kind of new.
electric fuel. Holding an open-pit coal mine in his hand was very important. The only question was how to develop it effectively. After thinking for a moment, Roland realized that they needed to construct more steamships and fully develop the mining fields in the area. By increasing the number of steamships,
Where's
they could
his
transport the mined
girlfriend?
coal more efficiently and expand their capabilities. This would not only
Where's
meet the
our
local demand for
friend
coal,
that is
but also
bad?
provide
Where
an
did he
opportunity
go?
for trade and economic growth. The development of the
Are
mining
you
fields
here?
would require infrastructure, such as railways and processing facilities, to
I
optimize
don't know.
coal resources. With this unexpected discovery, Roland saw the potential for significant advancements in their industrial development and energy supply. The coal mine would serve as a valuable resource, contributing to the prosperity and progress of their kingdom. In the palace of Great Castle, there was a loud bang as the castle was turned upside down. This was something association of the capital. If used in larger quantities, its power could tear through armor. Timothy was delighted and rewarded the inventor with 25 gold, instructing him to start mass production of it. After the chief alchemist left, a knight remarked that while this invention appeared intimidating, it required ignition to activate, and its effective range was only about half a step. Other knights voiced their agreement, and Timothy felt a twinge of anger. If it weren't for Garcia Lorna, the alchemist responsible for developing this item at the Alchemist Association, he would have already conquered Great Castle. At that moment, footsteps suddenly echoed outside the door. An anxious guard entered the palace hall and knelt down on one knee. He informed Timothy that the militia force sent by Great Castle to the western border seemed to have suffered heavy losses. The defeated soldiers had returned to the capital, and they had brought with them a letter of inquiry from Roland Wimbledon. Now, many people were aware of the situation and what was written on the letter. The letter stated that Timothy's foolish actions, attacking the western border, were a mistake, and he would pay the price for it. Roland declared that he would launch an attack on the capital in the early second month of autumn, and by then, everyone would witness Timothy's shaky hold on the throne. The training location to resolve the feud was arranged in the courtyard of the castle. Including Sylvie, all the witches selected for the reconnaissance team were using revolvers.
It's boring.
Familiarizing everyone with the process.
Stupid ads.
Shooting phase of the training. The witches performed decently during the gun handling exercises, but the shooting exercise didn't
I need a
go as
camera
expected.
so I can face review.
Especially when the deafening sound of gunfire echoed from the recoil, everyone's first instinct was to cover their ears, leaving Roland with a vacant expression. He then shifted his face towards Anna. There, she held the gun in both hands without moving a muscle, continuously pushing the trigger, completely disregarding the recoil and gunpowder smoke. Setting aside accuracy for a moment, just this action alone was executed perfectly. Roland was secretly amazed. Even though it was a large caliber revolver, which had a strong recoil, how could her arm remain motionless during continuous shooting? Curiosity drove him to approach her from behind. Were tightly adhering to the grip, firmly holding it in the air, while Anna merely made a gesture of gratitude, not even touching the handgun. Roland could only laugh wryly and loudly declare, "No one is allowed to use their ability. to assist in practice. If they were to encounter enemies with the stone, they would their weapons. Roland couldn't help but feel deeply moved. Until now, he still remembered the appearance of each witch when he first met them. Managing to be as thin as a bamboo, slight in size, and a particularly expressionless face. Nightingale always had a trace of gloom between her eyebrows, and her smile had nothing to do with her emotions. It was, in fact, her faith and confusion when she threw herself into the future like a solitary, always on that lucky path.
The clipper.
Betrayal and pursuit was a stroke of luck. There was no time to think about where they were heading. But now, they were completely different from the past.
To be able to
Their eyes sparkled with vitality.
I don't remember the name.
They now have the strength to
Should
pursue
like
other
stop
things.
the units for a couple of seconds. It would make the game harder, just
With a
more
specially
fun.
designed high altitude
think.
throwing exercise. Leaving only Anna, Wendy, and Lightning. In order to fulfill his promise, Roland planned to drop a 250-kilogram bomb directly above the Grey Castle Royal Palace. As the altitude increased, the border town quickly shrank to the size of a fingernail, and the Crimson Water River turned into a gleaming silver ribbon.
Come on, just make it 2 more rounds.
Come
on, just make it 2 more rounds.
To achieve precise targeting, the bomb had to be equipped with a diving suit. And the young girl, Lightning, would be responsible for this task. Drop the bomb, Roland ordered. Wendy pulled the valve and released the bomb. Anna sealed the release hole with the prepared cover plate and tightened
This
the
game is talking positive.
pause.
On
The
pause.
two of them worked together seamlessly.
On
During the
pause.
descent of the bomb, applied horizontal thrust to it, allowing the bomb to freely change its trajectory, transforming it into a guided missile. When it was close to
Guided missile.
pulls a rear mechanism, separating the deceleration parachute from the bomb. The bomb would gain sufficient kinetic energy in the final 200 meters.
One more
to
round.
the roof of the palace.
One more
In this
round.
way, substantial drop distance became a guarantee for precise control of the impact point. The remaining task was to continue practicing this process. A week quickly passed, and Roland called Dara, Carter, and
Oh, literally made a bomb and then
He instructed them to continue implementing the town's affairs according to the usual plans. However,
Yes!
words were met with unanimous opposition from the
Yes!
Carter hoped to fulfill his duty as a chief knight and guard the prince. Axe requested to form a 100-person squad for protection. Dara argued that according to the municipal government's decree, any order must be reviewed and stamped by the Lord before it could take effect, urging Roland to stay in the castle. Finally, Roland demanded that everyone follow his command. After a moment of silence, Roland spoke up.
I wasn't going to play
Rival of the Western Territory,
It's
or
taking
even the
forever.
When the three asked the specific reason,
And
he reiterated
you're dead.
that this trip was
You're
a
dead.
confidential operation.
You're dead.
They were not to disclose the
Oh.
information to anyone.
I still got my urn.
Roland considered
Let's
that
go.
the headquarters of the demons might be stationed over 200 kilometers away from the Western Territory, and these demons had once destroyed the holy city of Takira. Revealing such information would be too shocking. As a person who had seen countless doomsday movies, Roland isn't too shocked, but for them, accepting such a reality would be difficult. If the news were to leak, it would cause even more trouble. If it triggered panic among the people, it could lead to a mass exodus from the Western Territory. Therefore, it was not the appropriate time to announce. After attending to the municipal matters, Roland and the witches boarded a hot air balloon and ascended from the castle courtyard, flying towards the direction of the mountains. Since learning about the existence of demons, Sylvie had been burdened with heavy thoughts. She wanted to know if the church, which had fought against the demons 400 years ago, was truly good or bad. Before Roland Nightingale preemptively responded, stating that the church was definitely bad. Kind-hearted people wouldn't arbitrarily hunt down witches. However,
And
continued to stare directly at Roland as if wanting to
bam!
hear his
Oh, we
answer.
got a shiny. Let's go.
Contemplated for a moment and said that it was still
It's a
uncertain
boom bear. Boom baka boom bam boom bear.
if they had made such significant sacrifices. Why would they Roland was well aware that Sylvie was actually asking whether he would stand with the church in order to fight against the demons. Sylvie opened her mouth, but didn't deny anything. Roland spoke seriously,
What?
stating that the authority of the church was inherently incompatible. He would not speak. Nightingale smiled proudly. The other witches also expressed their trust in Roland, saying that he was reliable. Sylvie nodded gently, and the heaviness between her eyebrows seemed to fade slightly. And so, as dusk descended, the group could vaguely see the outline of the snow-capped mountains. They selected a camping site, ensuring that wild beasts couldn't easily approach. Everyone began
Just a
of the
minute.
hot air balloon.
Not technically, but how can I stay?
Therefore, Roland displayed a gentleman's spirit and let the
Goodbye.